Hey gang, Mark LeBlanc welcoming you back to the Alley Cat Workshop. This is going to be a very different video from what I usually do. Usually I've got either a tool review or most of the time it's a project that I've got going and I'm showing you either steps in the progress or the whole project in itself. Today I thought to do something slightly different. So I am working on a project. It's going to be on a future video, but I'm going to put this one aside for now. And what I was thinking of doing is actually sharing some of my thoughts on my current shop and how I like it and some of the things that I would like to change as well. And the reason I'm doing that is for you guys, some of you may be in the process of planning a shop or might be in the process of changing your shop and are looking for some ideas. And for those of you that are just curious and want to have fun just listening in, then please do so as well. This is for you as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some of the things that I really like about the shop and some of the things I wish were there and some of the things that I'm going to change as well. So without further ado, let me take you outside. We're going to start there and we'll talk about the shop, but we'll take it from the outside. All right, so let's start from the outside. This is a frontal view of the house. House, of course, is over here, and the shop is over there. Now, the house does look a lot bigger than it actually is. There's a double garage, right? You can see it right here, and that takes a lot of the frontage. The other thing, too, is that the roof kind of gives you an idea that there's a second story, but there isn't. This is a one-story house. It's plenty big for both of us, and for the cat, don't worry about it. We have plenty of space. And we absolutely love this property. Now, over there is the shop. A couple of things. You notice that it's completely separated. That means that I can do as much sawdust as I want, and it's never going to bother anybody. It's actually fantastic for that. I could also use some finishing products like a lacquer, like a spray lacquer, and again, the fumes are not going to bother anybody inside the house. That's a great advantage. If you're planning a shop, haven't built one, really consider having an isolated building for the shop. It's really well worth it. The other thing I'll point out, and this is kind of a bit by accident, is the shop that you see over here actually is oriented due north, which means that the due south is pretty much this direction. It's insulated rather. So in the wintertime, I just put a little bit of heat in there and I'm very comfortable. In the summertime, because of the orientation and because of the fact that I've got all these trees in the back, right? You see them in the back. It provides a lot of shade in the shop, which means that even though it's really quite warm outside, I'm actually really comfortable in there. I don't need air conditioning. It's a rather cool place to work with. It's very, very, very comfortable. The other thing, too, is that the alarm system from the house is also extended to the shop itself. And that's a big plus because I've got a significant amount of investment in tools, and I certainly don't want to lose it by anything. So the alarm system is a big plus. All right, enough about the outside view. Let's go back inside and start talking about a couple of things. So the next thing I want to talk about is the floor of the shop. So two issues really with this. The first thing is this is a garage, right? You have the garage door over here, and this is a garage. The floor is hard cement, and it's also cement with a pitch. Right here, right in the back of my table saw, is a drain, and there's a pitch that goes from all four corners and goes down towards this drain. Normally that would be okay, because you're not necessarily worried about the pitch itself. But when I'm building furniture, and if you recall when I was doing the cabinet for my former regiment, I had to build an extended floor, and I still have some of the pieces. I kept two of them. Let me bring this out here. But I had to build these platforms to negate the pitch And that provided me with a level platform on which to build my projects. The other thing, and I mentioned this is hard cement. It's very uncomfortable. What I've done to alleviate this is I've put these cushy mats all over the place. Now I have one mat that I bought, the first one I bought it off Amazon, and I paid a fairly decent price for it. The mat that I'm standing on currently is something that I bought at Costco. And it was half the price, and it was a lot more surface area as well. Maybe it's not as great, but certainly for what I need it for, it's more than enough. So that's something I would highly recommend. If you've got a hard surface like this, get yourself these mats. It's going to save your feet and your knees throughout a long day of woodworking. And it's a fairly cheap solution. I've got mats like this all over the place. Every single one of my tools has got a mat. Another thing that I really enjoy in the shop is the fact that there are a lot of windows. And I get a lot of very good natural light. Now, I do have neon lights. There's 6 sets of neon lights on the ceiling, which gives a lot of artificial light. But if you look at the windows, it provides a significant amount of natural light, which is really useful. So there are 5 windows like this one throughout the shop. There's a window on the door that you don't see in this camera shot. There's 2 small windows on the garage door itself. It provides a ton of natural light. Great. However, there is a big disadvantage with having so many windows. It removes a lot of wall space where I could hang some tools. And I found that right now it's getting to be a bit of an issue because basically all my walls are taken. I don't have a whole lot of space left to be able to hang stuff anymore. It's a bit of a problem. All right, I'm going to go freehand for the next point here. I want to talk about storage. There is a lot of storage in the shop. So right next to the door, there's this cabinet. This was actually from the previous owner. Let me just open the doors here just to give you an idea of what's in there. But I have a lot of supplies inside of this cabinet. And it's getting to be a bit of a mess, frankly, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of cleanup. But this is a huge benefit or a big deal in the shop is having this much storage. Now, that's not the only thing that I've got. Let me just close this off quickly. Some part that you really don't see in any of the videos is on the top of the southeasternmost wall. There is a series of cubbies on the top, which allows me to store some additional tools and materials as well. Very, very useful. Now, you don't see this, but I just basically put stuff in there that I don't use very much. Aside from that, you've got the wall storage. This is my wood rack, where I've got way too many pieces of wood and scraps. And then I've got wall-mounted items over here. Now, I'm a subscriber to Steve. Oh God, I'm going to forget his name now. Steve Ramsey. He's got a course called the Weekend Woodworker. I'm a subscriber to that, so I've built his sanding station. I've also built the drill station, and I've built the rack for the clamps, and also my French cleat wall-mounted clamp system as well, where I put some of my hand tools. I've got another place to store some clamps along with a TV and a sound system, so I can listen to radio or podcasts when I'm there. And you know, we've just basically gone around the shop, but now I want to point out some of the cabinets and some of the other tools that I've got. So this is a cabinet. It's based off of a drill, a drill press cabinet. I just made it slightly bigger, and I added a tool rack for my turning tools. I absolutely love this. Everything that has to do with turning is in this area right here. It's in one of those drawers. Let me move it along. This is another storage unit for my lumber. Again, this is something from Steve Ramsey's course. It took me 3 hours to build this. This was actually really simple to do, and it was, like you can see, I've put a ton of stuff in there, probably too much. All right, here's an area that I don't like as much. In this corner of the shop, or back here to where we saw the sanding station and the drill station, is a series of cabinets, or not cabinets, but drawers. And these drawers are poorly made. There's no handle on them. They don't extend very well. They're very deep, so you lose a lot of space. This is a junk area. So again, I've got a lot of hand tools and stuff in here, and my intent is to get rid of this eventually and put this in my workbench. Build some drawers in my workbench and put these tools in my workbench. And if they don't fit, I'll put them in a box and slip them up in one of the cubby holes. But this is something that I don't like too much. The drawers are too big, too deep. And the other thing too is that the height of this counter is 43 inches, which is way too high. It eats up a lot of space. And as you can see, I'm using it more for clutter. And instead of putting stuff away in its rightful place, I've just let it here, and it collects dust. Finally, for storage, and this is something, if you can build an area like this, like a house that's isolated, or a structure that's isolated, get yourself attic space. Now I'm going to walk in here. There's not a whole lot of other natural light, but you see we put a lot of junk up here that we store, either summer or winter equipment. Now it's because we're at the end of summer, we've got most of our summer stuff up here. And in this box, I've got actually pieces of an old bonsai tree that I intend to do something with eventually, if I ever get there. But maybe do some turning with it eventually. Anyways, this is a great space to just store stuff that you're not going to use. It's a very seasonal type of storage. So you see, as you can see in this shop, I've got a ton of storage solutions. Big plus. Plan for it, because you're going to need it. The last thing I'm going to talk about is workflow and mobility. So one of the features of the course that Steve Ramsey puts together is a discussion about planning how you're going to lay out your shop. And he takes into consideration the size of the tools, obviously the size of your space, and how you're supposed to go from one place to the other. So let me walk you through, when I mill my lumber, how it works out. I'm going to start over here. You don't see this, is slightly off camera, but this is where my jointer is. So I'm going to plane one of the surfaces and one of the edges. Then I'm going to go over here, pull out my planer, put it in the middle here, connect it to my dust collection hose, and plane the other side. And then finally, I'm going to come over here to my table saw and cut out the final edge. So as you can see, everything is well within walking distance. It's very simple to do. If I'm building something, I cut something here, move it over to my workbench, work on it. If I need to make another cut, let's say a miter cut, simply go over here, off I go. One of the reasons why all my key tools are lined up mostly on this side of the wall is because of the dust collection. So I've got one major trunk that goes along the wall, the northwest facing wall, and all of my dust collection, or all of my tools, are connected via dust collection to that. It works really quite well. Now, mobility. Why mobility? There's actually a good point to this is every single one of my tools, with maybe one or two exceptions, is on casters. So if I need to change anything in my workflow, or if I just want to take all my tools out so I can clean up my shop, it's actually really quite simple. Up they go on the casters, pull them out of the shop, garage door is right there, and then I'm able to take care of everything. Would I change things in my shop? Sure. I'd love to have a little bit more space, right? Of course. I'd love to have maybe a few less windows so that I could put stuff on the walls. Okay. I'm going to get rid of that counter eventually and put some drawers in my workbench so that I can get rid of that area of space. And my intent also is to put a new lathe in that corner. New lathe, new toy. Stay tuned for that. But overall, boy, do I consider myself lucky. This place is a godsend. And it's an area where I spend a lot of my free time. And that time is mostly very enjoyable to me. So hopefully this gave you a little bit of an insight if you're planning a next shop, or if you want to get some ideas to improve your own workspace in your own shop. Click that like button. You know what to do here. Subscribe if you haven't done so. I appreciate you watching. Thanks again, and I'll see you quite soon.